Do you ever wonder why it was so easy for Caucasians to have African Americans as slaves and see their pain, but not really see it for really what it was, and keep them as slaves for hundreds of years and not really think twice about it or not even care about their feelings or their emotions? Part of that was because of the way they posted things in newspapers during slavery times. So these are things that were posted in the newspaper in the 16, 17, 1800s to justify the mistreatment of African Americans and to make the whole world see them as less than human. So this first picture is a monkey ape man. And images like this would be in newspapers constantly because this was a representation of a black man. So white people during slavery didn't see them as fully human, and they said they had no souls because they didn't see them as a man and didn't see the women as women. They saw them as animals or this hybrid between a human and an animal. So when we look at this next picture, it's the same thing. It's another monkey ape looking uh, animal. And as a matter of fact, the caption here says the long armed ape. So black people were called monkeys, apes, baboons, gorillas, all kinds of ridiculous names, and were told they were less than human, and they were seen as less than human all throughout slavery and before, which is one of the reasons they had no qualms about going into Africa and getting these beings. They weren't even human, so they were like some type of hybrid to them. So when they cried because the kids were taken away, it fell on deaf ears. Even animals will cry when you take their babies away. Even animals will fight when you take their babies away. And animals have feelings. Why wouldn't this person from Africa, even if you thought they were less than human, why wouldn't you see the tears, and assume that they actually were having uh, an emotional reaction to what was happening to them? So I'm going to read you this paper that was in the newspaper in the 1850s. And it's a snippet of that. And it basically is another justification for the reason why white people, in their opinion, was superior and the Negro was inferior. So this newspaper talks about the Great Spirit, and the Great Spirit got the Negro man, the black man, the Caucasian man, the white man, and the red man, the Native American man, together and showed them three boxes. Now, that first box was filled with books, maps, and papers, and the second box was filled with bows, arrows, knives, and tomahawks. And the third box was filled with spades, axes, hoes, and hammers. And the Great Spirit says, "These, my sons, are the means by which you are to live. So choose among them according to your fancy." Then it says the white man, being the favorite, who would have guessed, had the first choice. He passed by the box of working tools without notice. So he didn't even notice the working tools. It's because he knew those working tools were not for him because that was not his position. So when he came to the weapons for war and hunting, he stopped and looked hard at them because he considered himself a strong man. So he could prepare for war and he could hunt because he considered himself very strong. And then the red man trembled because he had his heart set upon that box that had weapons for war and hunting. So the white man, however, after looking upon it for a moment, he passed on and closed the box of books and closed and chose the box of books and paper. So the white man, being as intelligent as he is, according to this newspaper, he chose to be the intellectual one. So he chose the box of books and paper. Now the red man's turn. was next. So the Native American man, as you may have guessed, it says that he seized with joy upon the bows, arrows, and tomahawks because he became the hunter, the fierce hunter. Now, there's only one box left, and there's only one man left. It's the black man. So the box that was left was the one that had spades, axes, hoes, and hammers in it. The black man, by default, he had to choose that box. And because he chose that box, it was his fault. So now he has to live with hammers, hoes, axes, and spades. So now he has to live as a slave, basically, because that's the box he chose, even though it was the only box left and he was the last person to choose. So things like this in the newspaper actually gave more of an idea that African Americans should be slaves because they would put these things in the newspapers back then to justify slavery, to justify the mistreatment and maltreatment of African Americans, both the men, women, and the children, to sell the babies away from the mothers and their fathers. See these people crying and begging and pleading and have no mercy for them at all because they were not fully human. They would do things like this to keep convincing each other and themselves that Black people were not human. So when you look at today, 2024, no, it's not the same white people that are up on the earth. It's a different group of white people, but the white people that are up on the earth, and I'm not saying every one of them, but they are the descendants. A lot of them are, especially the ones in America, even across the world, even in Europe, are the descendants of slave masters or have people in their family who were slave masters or friends that were slave. Basically, the whole concept was not foreign in America for a Black person to be looked upon as less than human. So it doesn't matter if your ancestors had slaves or not. That concept of dehumanization was something that most white people assumed about Black people, that they were less than human. That concept got passed down through the generations because who raised the people that are here right now? Their grandparents, their great grandparents, great, all that stuff got passed down, even subconsciously, whether you realize it or not. So sometimes when you turn the news on, you'll see that Black people are being shot and killed. The Black men are being shot in the back. When they're running away from the police, they're no longer a threat, being shot and killed, shot in the back. And then they lay in the street and their family comes and cries, but then you have other people saying, oh, they shouldn't have ran. When does running away from the police constitute a death warrant? The reason why it happens so frequently and people don't say anything about it is because they don't see them as fully human. And that's part of the reason why there's still racism, because when you see a group that's subservient, that's been subservient in the past, and you consider them still subservient, and you're more intellectual and you're the favorite of the Great Spirit, you're smarter, you have more to, you have beautiful hair, beautiful eyes, you're just more attractive, more desirable, then you're going to put yourself on a pedestal. And those people who the world deems as less desirable, those people are going to be subservient to you. And you will always see yourself as better than them. And even if you don't really think about it constantly, it doesn't really cross your mind that much, it's in your subconscious mind. So whether you realize it or not, you're still going to treat these people as less than because subconsciously you feel that way. And this is a stereotype that has been perpetuated for hundreds of years in America with African Americans. And people still wonder why we complain. Well, because things haven't changed. They've changed as far as African Americans being slaves, but the things that have taken place to cause African Americans to be damaged mentally, emotionally, spiritually is so detrimental. And it has happened so long through so many different generations that it literally would take an act of God to bring us out of the position that we're in, as far as being subservient to practically every other nation in this world. Thanks for watching.